We have new economic numbers. They're pretty good. New weekly jobless claims have again hit a new pandemic era low. The Department of Labor once a week releases these numbers. They released them this morning. Initial jobless claims for the week ending April 10th, meaning last week, came in at 576,000 new claims. This is both lower than the 700,000 number that was expected and also the lowest in the era of the pandemic. Continuing claims for the week ending April 3rd, 3.7 million, basically right on track with what was expected. And these are numbers that are likely to continue improving if we can keep vaccinating quickly. We've talked about how in some sense, the unemployment numbers are inversely correlated to vaccination. Of course, there's a whole bunch of other factors, including local hotspots and state-by-state guidelines. What's going on in Texas is different than what's going on in the state of Washington, as two examples. But if you look at the vaccination dose numbers, those numbers continue to increase. We're now up to 3.3 million doses per day. In another 40 days, things could be looking quite good. It's quite plausible that by Memorial Day, you will see more states drop mask mandates. I'm not advocating for or against it. I'm sort of talking about the perspective that I think more and more governors are taking here. But short of debating that, for me, the lesson here, there's probably a few lessons, but the best lesson here is the best economic policy, the best way to protect and shield and recover the economy during a pandemic has always been to just deal with the virus. And what I mean by that is early on in March, debates about flights and debates about freedom and debates about masks and closures, quarantines and the constitutionality of lockdowns and all of that stuff. There has always been one path, which is the most the more quickly you deal with the virus, regardless of the debates around freedom and constitutionality and whatever, dealing with the virus most quickly will help the economy. And we have examples of it. New Zealand did an incredible job dealing with the virus. They didn't need long debates over whether to open or close or masks or not. They did it, they dealt with it, and then they had long periods of normality where much of the rest of the world was very far from normality. Israel, in terms of vaccination, Israel was able to strike a deal early with Pfizer, being a country of only 9 million people, to get enough doses for everybody in exchange for sharing data with Pfizer. Businesses are open in Israel. Passover was almost completely normal in Israel a couple of weeks ago. The entire time, the United States wasted time with conversations that were being forced upon us by the right, by the Trumpists, by the anti-maskers, by whoever else. And all along, the best medical policy was the best economic policy. That's what we learned, and it is increasingly borne out in the data that we get. Had we figured out testing earlier, instead of Trump saying, we don't need this, slow down testing, 15 cases will go to zero. If we just figured out testing and were able to contain it, we would have had a problem, of course. We would have had a problem in a country of 330 million people, but it wouldn't have gotten as bad as it did. The economy would have gotten better more quickly. Had we had competent leadership early, the economy would have done better all along. Other good indicators, economically, by the way, retail sales up about 9% higher in March. That is significant. A lot of it is coming from bars and restaurants and other business areas. And then the result of all of this is the stock market popping today. All-time highs. You're not seeing Joe Biden tweet endlessly about it. But the Dow Jones Industrial Average was up more than 200 points as of when I looked at it half an hour ago, hit an all-time high. The S&P 500 hitting an intra-day record, like forever. The forever record was hit today. NASDAQ up 1%. Of course, the economy is not the stock market. But the point is, all of it together confirms that the better we do against the virus, that's the economic policy. It's not the debate between public health policy and economic policy. It's all the same. The economy does better when we better deal with the virus. We better deal with the virus when we understand that we don't need to think about the virus as separate and distinct from the economy because it all goes hand in hand. We'll hope for continued improvement in the numbers. My belief is, and again, I always make very clear, I'm not coming up with this stuff on my own. I'm looking at the public health experts because they are the experts. It seems as though 40 days from now, numbers will look significantly better. And hopefully, as a result, economic numbers will as well. One of our sponsors is Vincero Watches, giving you 15% off. A high-quality wristwatch is the perfect way to elevate your style. Own at least one watch that makes you feel great when you put it on. You can often see me wearing my Vincero watch on the show. Mine is the gunmetal vessel model. I'm a big fan of the metallic look of the face of the watch. I like the silicone strap. You won't find a better made watch for this good a price anywhere else. When you put it on, you know you got more than you paid for. Vincero believes in crafting super quality watches from high-end materials, but selling them at fair prices, which is why they have over 26,000 five-star reviews. And they stand behind every watch they make with a 1-year return policy and 5-year warranty. They'll give you 15% off everything in their store and free shipping at davidpakman.com/watch. Use the coupon code PAKMAN.